All right, check it out. It's almost impressive how every single time someone from the Trump admin goes on camera, they make the Epstein situation like 10 times worse. To break this down, I'm bringing in contributor Chris Mowry, who has an interesting story to break for you guys. Check this out.
I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that.
So that was a video from October of 2024 that's going pretty viral for obvious reasons because the Epstein list has not been released and this saga for Donald Trump just keeps getting worse. And we've seen throughout his first term, a lot of people say, wait, I didn't vote for this, whether it's in relation to his tariffs, hurting American businesses, or immigration, or a host of different issues. But for the first time really ever, we're seeing this core base of Trump's, this cult, frankly, really turning on him. And we have now the New York Times posting a great article today saying, what is going on? I mean, what new era are we in for MAGA to be turning on Trump so heavily, really, for the first time? So we're going to talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to give you guys some pretty crazy updates. Before we get into it, though, my name's Chris Mowry, filling in for Adam Mockler on the Adam Mockler channel. If you enjoy this type of content, the link to my YouTube channel is in the description down below. I appreciate all the love you guys have shown lately. Truly, I say it every time, and I mean it. It means the world. On this channel, we're trying to build something big to punch back against MAGA media. That's what I call it. This big media, frankly, machine that Republicans have. A lot of the reason they won the 2024 election. We're trying to uplift Gen Z voices on this channel and compete against that going into 2026, 2028, and beyond. And if you want to be a part of this community, all you have to do is hit subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. All right, let me get into some updates here. The first update is, remember, when you go outside, wear sunscreen. You might notice, Chris, you look a little, yeah, I'm red. I'm very red. Made an error. It's really bad to get this sunburn. Please, if you're going outside in the heat, in the sun, whatever, please wear sunscreen. Now, just in the last 24 hours, actual updates, Trump's ex-chief of staff makes bombshell claim about the Epstein files. This is pretty interesting. It's gone a little under the radar. President Donald Trump's former chief of staff claims the president is in the Epstein files and on a list of the child sex offenders associates. Quote, he's in the files. A lot of people are in the files. Mick Mulvaney said in a forthcoming interview with Al Jazeera, a clip of which was teased online. But if there was something in the files that was particularly damning about Donald Trump, the files would have been released by the Biden administration. Trump, who Jeffrey Epstein once described as his closest friend for 10 years, according to biographer Michael Wolff, was sometimes photographed with him and welcomed him as a member of his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. And so take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, you know, the former chief of staff of Donald Trump, probably not the most forthcoming person, I'd say, especially that little tidbit of like, oh, well, I mean, it can't be that bad for Trump, or Biden would have released it. This whole like weaponization of the DOJ idea that really hasn't come to fruition ever, except under Donald Trump. The thing that Trump screamed about for so long, the Biden DOJ is weaponized, it wasn't real. But now these, you know, the executive branch is being filled with loyalists. It's part of unitary executive theory, Project 2025, hyper-politicizing these three-letter agencies. And now the DOJ is a political tool. And so the reason that they haven't released these files, maybe in Mick Mulvaney's opinion, is that Trump is in the list, or he says definitely Trump's on the list. And we also move to this document that's gone very viral as well just in the last 24 hours. Now, this is public information. It has been for a while, but people are kind of looking back at it and saying, wait a second, what is going on? This is the Office of the Attorney General. This is Pam Bondi sending a letter to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, dated February 27, 2025. Quote, before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of, quote, flight logs, Epstein's lists of contacts, and lists of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents, etc. And then she goes on to say, you know, late yesterday, I learned from a source that actually there's more documents, blah, blah, blah. This was a while ago. That's not the point. The point is people are, you know, rightly saying, wait a second, you're saying now that there's no list, or there is a list created by Democrats. Here, Pam Bondi's clearly saying that she got a list. She got a, quote, she received 200 pages of documents, which consisted of Epstein's list of contacts. And this was before she then got a second batch of documents. So again, a lot of his supporters asking questions and saying, what is going on? Is there a list? Is there no list? When you said there was a list, were you lying? When you said there was a list and then said there was no list, were you lying because the list did exist, but it was created by Democrats, as Trump says? And if the list was created by Democrats, why are you not prosecuting the Democrats who made the list? And if it was, why can't you just release the list that the Democrats made and we'll know it's fake? It's great. I mean, this is insane, right? So obviously, Trump supporters are upset about all this. It just adds confusion with Trump's chief of staff coming in, with people looking back and saying, you said this, former chief of staff, I should say. And so we move now to where we're at, where this MAGA base is starting to turn. I'll talk a little bit about the manosphere. The MAGA backlash from the Jeffrey Epstein saga is spilling into a niche but influential corner of President Trump's coalition, the quote, manosphere. We had Andrew Schultz say, this isn't what I voted for. You had Shane Gillis last night at the ESPYs, or yeah, that was last night or 2 nights ago. Losing my train of thought of it today. Some of the days start to, mesh together with this much news, the news cycle. But Shane Gillis on the ESPYs saying, making a joke about how Donald Trump had deleted the Epstein files. And Theo Vaughn actually replying to a tweet of J.D. Vance, who, by the way, he had J.D. Vance on his podcast. He had Donald Trump on his podcast during the election season. Theo Vaughn tweeting at J.D. Vance saying, where's the list? You told me there was going to be a list. What's happening? And so a lot of these people turning on Donald Trump. Again, flagrant host Andrew Schultz, whose last 3 political episodes have all been dominated by Epstein discourse, accused Trump of, quote, insulting our intelligence by claiming that the notorious sex trafficker had no client list. A clip of Vance saying we need to release the Epstein list on Theo Vaughn's podcast. Theo Vaughn then taking that, tweeting the video and saying, what changed? Where is it? Joe Rogan getting upset, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on. And so what I talked about kind of in the beginning of this video is what is going on? Why is so much of this kind of very intense cult base turning on Trump? I would say those manosphere people are not necessarily part of the cult base, but they're very influential and they like Trump. But this very cult base, what is going on? This is something I tweeted today. This is Philip Anderson, who I've talked about before, who all of a sudden is raging against Donald Trump. He voted for Donald Trump 3 times and was convicted for what he did on January 6th. Okay, he believed the Stop the Steal stuff. He literally walked into the Capitol, and you can read this here, but basically saying, Donald Trump could do X, Y, or Z, and these, quote, paid influencers would still make up some 5D chess, or you don't get it because you aren't real MAGA. You people are an embarrassment and a disgrace. He says he no longer supports Trump, and this tweet literally saying Donald Trump could do anything, and you guys would still support him. So I tweeted today, 3-time Trump voter and January 6th insurrectionist randomly becomes sentient today and realizes MAGA is a cult. But still, to show this very intense cult base starting to turn. Why? Well, there's some really interesting stuff in here, and I'm probably going to post a video on my own channel about this. So again, if you want to check it out and subscribe, I kind of want to do a deep dive into this type of stuff. Maybe a little bit of a different type of video because a lot of it goes into almost psychological stuff, like why people are so ingrained in these cults. And this person in The Atlantic talking about this today put it really well. Why this particular case is the one that MAGA world has fixated on is a fascinating question. Some of the best people to answer it might be MAGA Republicans. Natalie Winters, a correspondent for Steve Bannon's podcast War Room, told the New York Times that the Epstein case goes to the, quote, very foundation of MAGA because it gets to the heart of who is in control of the country. The MAGA movement, she explained, feels betrayed. I just think it's frankly very grifty to have spent your entire career promoting, even if it weren't the Epstein thing directly, but the idea that there is this deep state, the idea that there's this unelected class of, bankers, corporations, blah, 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 which bankers, this is already bleeding, into this gross kind of right-wing pipeline that ends up with anti-Semitism. But she said, and then finally, you have the power to expose it, and either you're not because there's nothing there, in which case it makes you a liar, and I don't believe that, or you're ineffective or you've been compromised. So again, why is this an issue? Because his entire base has been founded on the idea that he's the victim. Who's coming after him? The deep state. Who's Donald Trump trying to destroy to save the country? The deep state, this unelected group of people. And at the Epstein files, this was kind of the core to that, the core to this QAnon. Like there is these evil people running the government, doing horrible, terrible things to children, all of these different things that kind of spread out. And it's very core to the movement. And so when you have an opportunity to do something like you've promised and you don't, it's different than every other issue. So I find it very fascinating, and I'm curious what you think down below of this. And also if there is files. Some people say there just has never been files. Some people say there are files and Trump's in them. Let me know what you think. Listen, if you appreciated this video, it would mean a lot if you clicked like and subscribe down below. Again, my name's Chris Mallory, filling in for Adam Mockler on the Adam Mockler channel. Show some love in the comments. I read them all the time. I appreciate you so much. And once again, you can check out my YouTube channel with the link in the description down below. I appreciate you a lot. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next video.